Hello, my name is Precious and I am the blogger for the Single Maven. I'm excited about this blog today. The topic is a winner's mindset. This one I kind of came up with as a result of a discussion I was having with someone today and just thinking about the various things that are needed for a winner's mindset. I have several different things going on right now. I've talked about the book a lot, and the book is coming along. I'm super excited about it. We're down to the editing process, so cross your fingers that the Single Maven's book, The Sweetest Transition: Lessons in Life, Love, and Self-Discovery, is coming out soon. So that's one thing I think that I had to kind of digest, is the fact that if this comes to fruition, I need to change my mindset about it. And look at how I am trying to accomplish that goal with other goals. So I wanted to do a blog to serve as an inspiration, sort of gratitude and applauding yourself, but it also some mindful tips to think about when you're looking at your life goals, whether it's, as a single person, a married person, anybody. This could pertain to anybody, but I found that there are lessons that I have here, and also they're reminders. So it's not something that I've completely mastered, but I am finding that the more that I'm transparent about things that I'm going through and doing this blog, which I really enjoy doing, but also finding time and space to just chronicle my thoughts. So what I have as the main idea here is a true winner proceeds through life learning from his or her mistakes, as well as making wise choices. So I want to share some of the key items that I have found that a true winner remembers to do. And like I said, this serves as a reminder for me, of course, and also as lessons that I think that, anybody could apply to their life. So I'm interested in finding out what you all think about it. If you have any true winner mindset tips, to share them in the comments. So the first one that I have is extend gratitude towards yourself. So this one I think is something that I am learning to do, and I probably have talked about it a little bit maybe in some of the other blogs, but I think at this point, getting out to editing and publishing the book, hopefully within the next couple of months, I have to remember that it took me 2+ years to get to this point. But even after getting to this point, each day that I make a small step toward, a goal that I have, that's something to be grateful for. So some reminders that I have for that one is many times we fail to apply the principle of rewards and incentives in lieu of constant pursuit of gain. So for me, it's always like push, 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 gain, 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 instead of saying, okay, let me just stop and be grateful for the fact that I have, gotten to the editing process, or looking at potentially adding or deleting a chapter, because that's one step closer to the goal. So a failure to pause and reward will result in eventual burnout and abandonment of your dream. And sometimes I find myself there too, because it's the fact that I don't see anything happening. I don't really want to do anything. And I think you could be harder on yourself than what's necessary, because you don't have to have it all figured out. So the next thing I have is must be willing to applaud your great achievements and your flaws. So recognize that you can't applaud perfection because it does not exist. So when you see someone that has accomplished a milestone, you're applauding both the good parts and the failures that culminate in this moment. I found that was actually a great thing to think about, because a lot of times we see people and it's like, oh, they have arrived. But in actuality, what you're seeing is a culmination of the good parts and the failures and the things that they went through throughout the journey to get to that point. So I think that you have to be willing to applaud your great achievements and your flaws as well, because it makes you a whole person and you're being transparent about your journey as well. The next thing I have is taking consistent breaths and being persistent through the pain. Oh my gosh, yeah, a lot. But this could relate to being single, I think, and still pursuing your life of excellence. So you could be going through, a dry spell, a breakup, or just being hurt in general from, just regular relationships you have in your life. But you have to be persistent through the pain. And I think a lot of times we don't think about the purpose in pain, but there is purpose in pain, and we're not going to see it at that point. We're not necessarily going to see it at the point of being in the pain because we're hurting. But when you don't see, if you're trying to have dates or whatever, you don't see anybody approaching you, or if it's truly a dry spell, as singles, we do have those dry spells, right? You can continue to persist in the belief of your dreams because eventually, even in the hurt and the pain and the dry spells or whatever in life, that there are great moments that can happen, that have happened, and will continue to happen. So the next one, which actually brings me into the next one, is remaining loyal to the cause. So not abandoning ship because of what it looks like. Because I think for me, sometimes I look at the circumstances and you get bound by the circumstances. And I probably have talked about this before. But to be honest with you, some of these things I think you have to continue to remind yourself of, because if you don't, you can get, dissuaded. You cannot move over to the dark side of unbelief and inability to thrive. That's the wrong answer to have. I think that remaining loyal in spite of what you see is probably the biggest hurdle that a lot of us have. And that could pertain to anything that we're trying to do. If you base your decisions entirely on what you see, you will never give yourself the opportunity to consider a better experience. And I'm going to repeat that one because I need that one again for myself. If you base your decisions entirely on what you see, you would never give yourself the opportunity to consider a better experience. So you're negating entirely the better experience that you could have. And that could be in your finances, that could be in your relationships, that could be in your job, that could be in your home life. It could be in your marriage if you're married. It could be in anything, right? So don't base your decisions on what you see, because you don't give yourself the opportunity to consider a better experience. All right. The next one I have is being brave enough to make the correction. Yeah, that one is important. Really important when you're pursuing dreams, because you can get something really wrong and it's okay. I mean, my perception of even how to move through business and life, I'm constantly making corrections because my mind is always turning. I'm always trying to figure things out. And sometimes I think it's brilliant. And then the next day I'm like, that's stupid. This is not going to work. It makes no sense, right? But I do this often. But I can't stop being truthful and transparent about who I am and where I am. It's totally okay to be wrong, really. But it's not okay when you can't admit your shortcomings or being short-sighted. So if you realize at a point that, I keep making this mistake. It's okay to make mistakes, but if I continue to make the same mistake, maybe my perception is flawed or my thinking pattern is flawed. And I have to stop and pause at that moment to do due diligence and see what's going on, right? But being brave enough to make the correction, a lot of us, if we actually take the time to exercise bravery in that area, we probably would make our lives a lot easier, right? The next one I have is mustering up the stamina to show up again and again in the confusion, haze, and despair. That's me right now, right? When you're building on a dream or a vision for your life, whether it's for future marriage, career projects, anything that you have, right? It could be saving money for a home, anything, losing weight. You will encounter times where you're really confused as to what you're doing. And it's not saying that you just may be in the wrong ballpark, but, sometimes it gets confusing to figure all of it out. But even showing up can confuse you, because sometimes you can think, why am I even here? Why did I even come? Why did I show up? Why did I make this call? Why did I come to this meeting? Whatever. However, the stamina to keep showing up is a part of the journey towards true fulfillment. So think about it. When people don't show up, the people that don't show up never get the opportunity to fulfill their dreams. So if you don't even consider showing up at all, even through the confusion, the haze, and despair, you're never going to get to the point of the end, right? You can think differently. And I think that really goes back to just a true winner's mindset is thinking differently about what's going on at the time. The next thing I have is willing to take chances versus abandoning your dreams. So in this one, I think it's a lot of different ways you can look at it, because I did read an article. It's kind of weird because, I was thinking about like the business thing and the book thing and how all of it's going to fit together. But I did see an article recently, and it was saying something about, I think I may actually link it to this blog to see what you all think about it, that it's okay to abandon dreams. And I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, like, interesting. But I think it depends upon what you're talking about, of course. Like, you can't go into something and risk, your entire life savings, and you have nothing else to fall back on. You haven't really investigated. Like, we don't take those type of chances, right? You take chances on things that you have invested time and energy, but also research and prayer and all of those things, and talk to people about. But I'm finding out that taking chances is the one thing that keeps you alive. And the reason why I say that, I'm going to explain it a little bit. A chance is simply a possibility or a likelihood. That's what a chance means. It's a possibility or a likelihood. So you can take a chance when you leave your home that you will never come back again. Like, God forbid, that could happen, right? You take a chance when you go to sleep that you will wake up again. We all take those chances, because when you think about it, the possibility is it could go either way. In our minds, we're presuming that, yes, we're going to come back home, we're going to wake up, everything is going to be okay. We take chances all the time, but we look at them like guarantees, right? There are no guarantees in life to the degree that we automatically assume that they're guarantees. So why not change your mindset in regards to the things that you're not taking chances on, right? And what I mean by that is that dream that you have abandoned could be the one thing that propels you out of the stagnation that you may feel. So I'm not telling, someone to go out and take a risky chance and not look at it from all angles and make a wise decision. But what I am saying is we take chances on a lot of different things, because chance means it's simply a possibility or a likelihood of something. It could go either way, and we look at that as a guarantee. We don't necessarily look at some of these other things that we could potentially take chances on that could prove very fruitful and take our life in a whole nother direction. Now, I think this is the last one I have, right? Knowing when to lean against the wall to catch your breath. So a true winner knows when to pace yourself. There is power in pacing. And I was reminded of that today. And it's, I'm reminded of a lot of different things through a lot of different people, thank God. And that's one thing that I have to remember. There's power in pacing. A winner knows that you don't always have to run the race. You can sit out at any time. And a lot of times you're like competing against yourself. And at least that's what I say to myself. Like, nobody's competing against you first. It's like, there's no prize. You grading yourself against yourself. And that makes no sense. So oftentimes I find myself trying to figure out all the pieces and don't realize that one critical piece is knowing when to lean against the wall and catch my breath. There's wisdom in pacing. So yeah, you can be, great at doing a lot of things, but if you're not great at actually looking at the timing and the pace and the season and what you can accomplish and your limitations, you're not going to be able to possess a true winner's mindset. So these, I think, will be helpful to anybody that's looking at like pursuing life goals, whether you're single, married, or just things in your life that you really want to achieve. And my life right now is trying to get the book, finished, edited, published, the business thing, praying for marriage and all of that. But the one thing I think that I am finding throughout all of these different things, these goals and all these things I want in life, is that my mindset has to be conducive to be able to receive those things, because they could take place sooner than what I realized. But if my mindset is not wrapped around being a winner in all of it, it really means nothing, right? So hopefully this was helpful to you all. Make sure to please subscribe. I don't want to beg, but yeah. I encourage you to post comments as well. And thank you for tuning in to The Single Maven.